Welcome to Fireside Giants. My name is Alex with my co-host here, Anthony Rivardo. Diving back into another New York Giants video, talking about the defense today, because when we're talking about the defense, it always comes back to Patrick Graham. It always comes back to how awesome they were in 2020. But they can get even better, and we know this because the Giants went out and got Adoree Jackson. They added multiple pass rushers in Ellerson Smith, Azeez Ojulari, Ryan Anderson, and Ifeadi Odenigbo. And I'm expecting big things from this unit. I think that they can really be one of the premier defenses in the NFL. While the offense is becoming such a more prominent factor in success in today's league, the defense is still just as important. You can't have a bad defense and win a Super Bowl, let alone make the postseason. So the Giants, trying to upgrade their offense with all this resource allocation toward wide receivers and hopefully Daniel Jones' development, the defense still plays a major part because you need to get off the field quickly. You need to give your offense more time of possession. It's just a matter of what your offense does with that time of possession that matters the most. So I want to talk about the identity of this defense today with Anthony and really go through what are they going to look like next season, what is changing, what is Patrick Graham going to do to take this defense to another level after having such a great first year with the Giants in 2020. But Anthony, before we dive into this really interesting topic, how are you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing real good. I'm excited to talk about the identity of the Giants defense in 2021 because I think the identity of the Giants defense in 2020 was really interesting. It wasn't what we expected them to be. Going into the 2020 season, we thought that they were going to be a blitz-heavy, man-heavy scheme, and they were kind of the exact opposite. The Giants instead opted to play a lot of zone coverage defense and sit back in coverage and really just allow the interior pass rush to get there. And they didn't blitz as much as we expected them to. They blitzed, but not as frequently as we were expecting when Patrick Graham was hired, because we thought that he was just going to be blitzing nearly every single play, playing press man coverage every single play. That's not at all what we saw. It's almost the opposite of what we saw, and I think that's a super interesting thing to really reflect on for 2020 and then look ahead to 2021 as the Giants are now trying to get back to that man-heavy scheme that they wanted to run initially. It seems like their personnel moves, the acquisitions that they made defensively, all lean towards, or all signs point towards them going back to that man press heavy scheme with a lot of blitzes. So I think that's going to be interesting because the Giants defense, as great as it was in 2020, it might be great again, but it might look completely different in 2021. And that'll be really, really kind of unique to see a defense really just go from one end of the spectrum to the other, if that is their true plan, which is what it seems to be this year as they transition from zone heavy to man heavy. That'll be really interesting to see how that develops and if the Giants players are able to adjust to that and how well the personnel, especially the new personnel that they just added, and how well it matches up with the new scheme.
Well, that's the thing. How are these players going to match up with the new scheme? What is it going to look like next season compared to last year? And it's going to be a big difference. I think there's going to be a pretty significant change when it comes to what we're seeing on the field. And it's actually kind of crazy to think the Giants had such a great unit last year, and they're ready to change the entire thing for the most part. They're ready to really utilize more cover one, utilize more, blitz packages so they can send extra blitzers. Patrick Graham last year had to kind of dive away from sending 5 blitzers, those 5 blitzer packages, and really utilize that 4-man rush, reliance on the interior defense. 3-man rush we saw a lot on third downs, but he's going to be able to use 5, 6 blitzers at a time when you have such good man coverage corners. Now, last year, I know, Anthony, this is a really good article. Seth Galina of PFF dove into the Giants and all 32 teams, their schemes on defense they used in 2020. This is a really in-depth article. Some of the PFF stuff I know people don't like to follow. It's a little fluffy. It's a little clickbaity, but this is one of the pieces that really gives you a great understanding of what this team ran last year. And it really kind of plays into what we've been talking about the last couple of weeks. They played a lot of zone coverage. They had to kind of shift away from a man coverage scheme in 2020 because of the lack of support at CB2. Now, they started off the year playing a lot of man coverage with James Bradbury, but as they quickly realized, Isaac Yiadom, Corey Ballantyne was cut after week 2, and Ryan Lewis simply could not hold up, so they had to roll over a lot of zone packages to help out at CB2 with the safeties and Logan Ryan, and really just because teams, opposing offenses, were taking advantage of that weakness. Now, we know James Bradbury is a top 5, top 6 cornerback in the NFL, and they can rely on him. but he can only do so much. They were avoiding him for the most part in the second half of the year, and they were targeting that CB2 position. Like against Dallas in that first game, they hit on Ryan Lewis, and he ended up giving up a massive gain to Michael Gallup downfield, which ended up resulting in a game-winning field goal for Dallas. The Giants lost 3 or 4 games in a row there by less than like 7 points. So it was a pretty slim margin they were losing these games, which in terms is a playoff difference. That margin is a playoff difference. So you have to be able to win. Joe Judge says it all the time. Football is a game of inches. And when you have a weakness, it stands out, and teams attack those weaknesses, Anthony. So when you're looking at this team moving forward in 2021, how important is it to get Adoree Jackson and really insert him in that man coverage role? We're going to do a little film breakdown later, looking at, what James Bradberry and what Adoree Jackson bring to this team and why they could be such a fantastic duo on defense, and why their style of coverage is so different, but how they complement each other. We're going to do that a little bit later for you guys. That'll roll out over the weekend. But Anthony, when you're looking at this team in cover one, why is it so important? How can this defense take a step forward because of it?
Yeah, I think, you mentioned that Pro Football Focus article, which I think is really the key here to looking ahead to the Giants' future, because in the first half of the season, as you mentioned, and as the article mentions, the Giants played a lot of cover one. Towards the second half of the season, they were in a lot more cover three, playing more zone, not really playing as much man coverage. But obviously, Patrick Graham's true defensive scheme, the one that he prefers to run, he wants to run, is a cover one man-based scheme. But the Giants just didn't have the personnel to do that last year, so they had to switch to cover three. Clearly, he likes the single high safety looks. Those are good against run fits. They give you good run fits against opposing rushing attacks. And so the single high safeties have their benefits, and the cover one can be great because you can blitz out of a cover one really efficiently. But you have to have good press man cornerbacks on the outside, and the Giants didn't have that last year. They had James Bradberry, who's one of the best corners in the NFL, but opposite of him, there was a revolving door. At first, it was Corey Ballantyne, then Ryan Lewis, then Isaac Yiadom, and even Yiadom was injured, and then you had to see guys like Julian Love start outside, who's traditionally a safety. So Giants were all over the place at CB2. CB1 was amazing, phenomenal. James Bradberry was great from the start of the season to the end of the season. But CB2, highs and lows, a lot of inconsistency and probably more lows than highs for that position. And that really caused the Giants to have to change the way that they played defense. And now I think you go into 2021, you look at this team and you say, okay, CB2 is fixed. Adoree Jackson is one of the best outside cornerbacks in the NFL when he is healthy. If he's healthy this year, the Giants are going to have the opportunity to play a lot more man coverage. Like those cover ones that they were playing at the beginning of the year, that they just weren't working out last year, so they had to make the switch. This year, they'll try out that cover one. It'll probably work because they have the outside corners to play that press man coverage now. Adoree Jackson can play that coverage. James Bradberry, of course, could play that coverage. And even if, for whatever reason, let's say Adoree Jackson isn't playing well on the outside, or if he does get injured again, now we have Aaron Robinson, who's a pretty good, slot corner, but a lot of people think he can play on the outside as well, but what he's really good at is press man coverage, of course, because that's what the Giants are trying to get back to. You look at all their personnel moves, everything that they were doing defensively was to get more press man corners. Rodarius Williams, even out of the 6th round of this year's draft, he's a press man corner. That's what the Giants were looking for. Press coverage, man coverage. That's what this Giants defense is going to look like next year. And it's going to look a lot different than it did last year. I really liked the Giants defense last year. I loved how they disguised their coverages. They did play like primarily zone coverage in every game, but a lot of that was disguised in really creative ways. And that's the genius of Patrick Graham, right? The way he's able to disguise his coverages to trick quarterbacks pre-snap and have them make mistakes post-snap. If he can do that again this year and even incorporate more man coverage, I really do think you could see this defense take it another step forward and really hit another level here, because there's a lot of talent on this defense. Leonard Williams, James Bradberry, Blake Martinez, and they just added more talent. Aaron Robinson, Adoree Jackson, Azeez Ojulari. This defense is going to be really, really good next year, I think. And I think that, the scheme might change a lot, but it's still going to be something that's really efficient and clever and creative, because that's really just what Patrick Graham is.
Well, yeah, his disguising of those zone coverages last year, the problem with when you play zone coverage is that for the most part it worked quite well, but it kind of enables teams to hit on big plays and key moments, right? It's kind of they know what you're running. When it's a big moment, they can take shots and they can feel pretty good about securing them. The problem is, throughout the middle of the game when your guys aren't as fatigued, and you're trying to kind of compensate, and everybody knew, right? Every single game, we went into every single game knowing that opposing offenses were going to attack our CB2 position, right? That was like the most clear-cut thing. If you didn't do that, you were going to lose to the Giants, right? Their defense was going to shut you down. But teams frequently attacked that CB2 spot, and with good reason, because it was a complete mess, which is why the Giants went out and kind of overspent on Adoree Jackson in the first place. 3 years, $39 million. Of course, you get a player who offers you press man coverage abilities. He's extremely aggressive. He's good with the ball. He has good ball skills when it comes to interceptions and forcing pass breakups. He's very physical, which I love about his style. But he has been injured quite a bit the past 2 seasons. So last year he only played 3-4 games max, and then giving him a pretty much $3 or $40 million deal is quite expensive and lofty. But they see the potential in what he offers, and Logan Ryan also vouched for him. So I'm sticking with the Giants' guns here. I trust Joe Judge and the decisions that they are making behind the scenes right now. But when it comes to Patrick Graham, he spoke last week after minicamp, and he had a couple of just phenomenal quotes here. Really, he gave a lot of information, and usually he doesn't give this much information, right? He said, I know we didn't play a ton of man coverage last year, but we picked spots to play man. Again, like those guys last year, they did a good job of what we asked them to do. Like we mixed up more zone, and then we had man in the pass. But again, I don't know what the recipe is going to be for this year yet, Graham said. But I don't want to be disrespectful of the guys that were here last year that aren't here. I mean, Adoree Jackson brings another element. Aaron Robinson, Darnell Holmes, they bring another element to it. We will probably be in more man, possibly. That's really a guarantee. Patrick Graham, his history is rooted in man coverage and really sending extra blitzers and playing, aggressive football with sending 5 blitzers at a time. On third downs, we're not going to be rushing 3 guys anymore. We're not going to be playing zone coverage, allowing those big spray phase on the side like to Michael Gallup. We're going to be playing aggressive man coverage and sending extra blitzers, because when we have situations where it's second and long, third and long, you want to push those guys back. You want to force short throws, right? You don't want to give up long throws. So you'll have maybe 2 deep safeties. You'll have your man coverage corners. You'll have your linebackers, and you'll have 4 good pass rushers, or even a 5th guy, maybe Jabril Peppers coming off the edge. Who knows? They'll be able to get creative, like Anthony said. When you have Patrick Graham, you're always going to be like, what is he going to do next? That's what I love about him so much, is that he's the kind of coordinator that's like unpredictable. And we've been so annoyed the last couple of years on offense and defense, just so predictable. James Betcher, so predictable. On offense, with Ben McAdoo, Pat Shurmur, we always knew what was coming next. We were calling plays like Tony Romo does in the booth. So that's kind of a disappointment. And now, I'm watching this defense and I'm like, I don't even know what he's about to do. This is crazy. It's just the disguises he puts forth with the personnel. The lack of personnel last year was mind-blowing. When you give him actual players, actual great personnel, didn't even have Xavier McKinney for the first half of the year. Now you're giving him Azeez Ojulari, who led the SEC in sacks and forced fumbles last year. You're getting Lorenzo Carter and O'Shane Exim is back, plus Afadio Denabo, who we interviewed, and he's an awesome guy. Ellerson Smith, who was one of the highest-rated athletic scores in the entire draft class at defensive end. You're giving him so many fantastic pieces to work with. I'm so excited to see what he can manage to do here, Anthony. But it's just incredible, and the ball skills that some of these defensive backs have is insane. And speaking of balls, get your lawnmower 4.0 today, guys. Sponsored by Manscaped, our sponsor for this episode. Father's Day is coming up on Friday. If you have yet to get a gift for your dad, or even if it's a girlfriend or whatnot, get your lawnmower 4.0. This thing has a freaking light on it in case you're in the woods in the dark for whatever reason. Absolutely insane. It's an incredible piece of equipment. It's actually engineered by I don't even know, Manscaped. It's just ridiculous. If you've used it before, this stuff is insane.
It's pretty great,
and it's really great. And then plus, you can get yourself the Ultra Smooth package. Look at this thing. They even box it so nicely. The Ultra Smooth.
I'm actually not going to lie. The Ultra Smooth package, if you go look at that on the website, it's super affordable, and that's actually like one of the best products that I've ever used. I can't even, without getting into too much detail, that thing was absolutely incredible when I used it. And it comes with exfoliator, keep your skin nice, and gel to keep things smooth. So really love that
Yeah.
product as well. Both of them are phenomenal. So definitely go check out Manscaped and use code Fireside.
Yeah, you can use the code in the description, guys. Um, Anthony might turn Mormon. He's getting so many girls right now; it's insane. So, but yes, back to footballs and not just regular balls. Anthony, finishing up with Patrick Graham here. What else do you see this defense producing? It's hard. It's hard to really say what they're going to do in terms of guarantees. But let's talk about Aaron Robinson for a second. In this Darnell Holmes situation, do you think Aaron Robinson pushes Darnell Holmes? Because I know Darnell, you've said in the past, is more of a zone coverage type of guy, but he also is aggressive. I think he can play man just fine. Aaron Robinson is an aggressive man coverage slot corner, and I think that and even Darnell, Brian Walker's told us he could play on the outside if he needed him to. Maybe you kind of use Darnell in that way. Maybe you move him to the outside and you let Aaron Robinson play in the slot as that physical guy. So what are you thinking about those two moving forward?
Yeah, I'm thinking Darnay Holmes. I really like his ability to kind of sit in that coverage and read and react, be really quick, and that's kind of where I do see him playing better in the zone defense. Like if you remember, Nico Lalos had an interception. I believe it was against the Cincinnati Bengals, and it was a play where Darnay Holmes broke up the pass, and he was sitting in a zone. Someone was coming into his zone. He broke on the ball, tipped it up, and then it was intercepted. I don't remember if that was against Seattle or Cincinnati, but it was one of the two. And it was a great break on the ball by Darnay Holmes, but it just showed that he has phenomenal zone coverage instincts. And when you take a look at him, and of course, yeah, he's got the ability to play outside. That's what he did in college. But he is 5'8", and the Giants feel a lot more comfortable with him on the inside. So I think that's ultimately where he just stays. But Aaron Robinson, I think, since he's a lot taller and a lot more physical, he might get a crack at the outside. But he's that guy that plays on the inside and has the physicality to play press and play man coverage. He's a little bit different. His playing style is just a lot different from Darnay's, in my opinion, and they're really just such different players. But I think depending on what the scheme is going to look like or what the coverage is going to look like on any given play, that's going to be where Patrick Graham decides, okay, on this play with this package, I need Darnay Holmes in there. On this play, I need Aaron Robinson in there. It's going to depend on what the Giants' coverage is and what they're really trying to do defensively at that given moment, if they want more speed on the field or if they want more physicality on the field. Because Aaron Robinson is also a phenomenal run defender. So if the Giants are expecting a run, you're going to expect to see Aaron Robinson out there to defend that run. If they're expecting a pass, you might just see Darnay Holmes just because he has that speed and quickness and that zone coverage capability. So I think that's going to be an interesting thing to look at with those two players in particular. But that slot cornerback position is really a strong suit for the Giants right now, long term at least, because you have two really good young players that are still continuing to grow and develop in Darnay Holmes and, of course, now the rookie Aaron Robinson. These are young, talented slot corners that both have the opportunity or ability to play outside if given the opportunity. But the Giants really set up their defense long term for success, and especially in the slot now that they have phenomenal depth there as well.
Agreed. I think this defense is exciting, guys. I am so excited to see what they can put together this season, especially with the reliance on man coverage, which will allow our blitzers to be even more adequate and productive. And that's really what I'm most excited about, to see where this pass rush can grow, because we retain Leonard Williams. We still have Dexter Lawrence, who I think is going to break out this upcoming year. Danny Shelton's a big, big boy in the middle, soaks up double teams, and it's going to really allow a lot of 1v1 situations for our pass rushers. Azeez Ojulari, Allerson Smith, those two guys, really excited to see what they can offer. There is no penciled-in starters right now, so this position battle during training camp should be very fun to watch, my friends. But let's keep an eye on that, and we'll be covering this throughout training camp. Obviously, we'll be keeping an eye on these pass rushers, seeing who's getting the edge, any clips, any stuff like that we'll have available. We will make sure you guys get it first and foremost during the video, so you get some good action. And make sure to check over on the weekend, doing a little film breakdown for James Bradbury and Adoree Jackson, looking at those two guys and why they are going to be such a phenomenal duo and how their qualities are such opposite that it actually benefits the Giants, because they can match those guys up accordingly based on personnel on the opposing offenses, whether, let's say, it's Tyreek Hill and whatever other receiver, Nicole Hardman. It could be anybody, It could be Allen Robinson and, I don't know, who else do they have? Mooney. Like, he's more of a speed guy, right, than Allen Robinson. You get what I'm trying to say. So, Eagles, Devonta Smith, and Jalen Reagor. Devonta Smith might be a James Bradbury assignment, and then Jalen Reagor, a speed guy, might be an Adoree Jackson assignment. So that's kind of what we're going to look at, why their traits are so complementary to each other, and how Patrick Graham can use them to expose matchups. So I'm so excited to look into that, guys. Make sure to subscribe below on YouTube. Notifications on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple. And make sure to go use that Manscaped discount code Fireside20 below. You'll see it in the description, and get some stuff for Father's Day. It's on Sunday. I guarantee they're gonna love it. A little awkward. I gave one to my dad, and it was kind of funny. He'll probably never forget that. But you can really get it for anyone. It's really applicable to any person. If you're a human being, and even if you're a Wookiee, especially if you're a Wookiee, you could definitely use this. Anthony will like that joke. So hope you guys have an awesome day, and we'll catch you guys on Friday.